Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to talk about AI detection and all kinds of deepfake media. This is a super important topic because as educators, you'd love to have a tool that could prove to you that something was generated with AI. This is understandable because we have been relying on student submissions since the beginning of time. Students have been submitting essays, presentations, all kinds of files, and we believed them. Even in the past, obviously, they could have asked a relative or anybody else to write their essays, reports for them. But in this new era of generative AI, they don't even need to do that. They can generate an essay in seconds. They can also use their own previous works to teach and train the AI to use their own style in the generated work. Therefore, it is getting more and more difficult to actually find out whether somebody's submission has been AI generated or not. So teachers would naturally opt for some kind of a tool, and AI detection tools sort of came to the rescue and made many people believe that they can be trusted. Now, this is something I'd like to address and talk about. There are lots of websites out there, such as ZeroGPT or Quillbot's AI detection tool. The problem is that these websites are not 100% reliable. They produce a lot of false positives as well as false negatives. What does this really mean? Basically, if you upload a document, an image file, audio file, or video file, you might receive the result that it has been AI generated. If it hasn't been, then it's a false positive. This is one case. A false negative is when it says it's not AI generated when you know that it has been AI generated. What does this really mean for educators worldwide? One major issue, and this has been argued in many research articles and many posts around the internet, that non-native speakers of English are negatively discriminated against if AI detection tools are used. Their use of English is built on cliches, fixed expressions. They actually might use translation tools to help them formulate sentences which they are not comfortable with. So if these submissions are fed into an AI detection tool, obviously they will say that the essay is, let's say, 100% or 90% AI generated. These students naturally ask for language assistance, and marking their work completely AI generated is going to negatively affect them. That is one problem. However, there are also many cases when students have been accused of using AI, whereas in reality, they swear they haven't used AI. This is another problem because AI detection tools, as I mentioned earlier, they are unreliable. And this is actually something they also mention in their small print, something we should definitely take into consideration. Obviously, they are trying to make their websites and their detection algorithms stronger and better day after day. They still can produce false positives and false negatives. What does this actually mean? That teachers can use the percentages. However, they can only use these numbers for further discussions with the student, further consultations. But let me show you a couple of websites that you might run into, and I also want to highlight their problems. So one website that you might be using is Deepware. Deepware is promising to scan and detect deepfake videos. So if we go to the scanner, we can use a YouTube link, for example, and then we can analyze the video. But as you can see, I actually used a completely AI generated fake news report and the website says no deepfake detected. Another example is Quillbot. We're going to talk about Quillbot in another video. Quillbot has AI detection of texts, AI image detection, and it also actually, funnily enough, has an AI humanizer. Now, if we analyze an AI image, I'm going to upload an image that I generated from my own profile picture. And Quillbot's AI detection tools are actually much better than, for example, the previously mentioned website. It basically now gives me 79% of this image. Now, there are other tools, for example, AI or not, or Turnitin. However, even though Turnitin says that now they have a less than 1% false positive rate, they still want to acknowledge that there is still a small risk of false positives. So now I'd like to turn to another website or project. This is Google's project called SynthID. And SynthID is something that Google is trying to build into its all of its AI generation models. They are trying to put or insert a watermark that is invisible to the human eye. However, this can be digitally detected. We can try this in Gemini already if we upload an image. And unfortunately, even though this image was 100% AI generated, since it wasn't generated with Gemini or any of Google's products, it's not going to contain the SynthID watermark. So it's a very nice initiative, and it would be amazing if more companies started using this watermark system. At the moment, it only works for Google's AI tools.